Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Wednesday, December 17th. I am your host, Josh Newberg, and the rumors, the twists and turns, they never stop. So today we're going to keep it going, bringing you guys the best recruiting insider intel anywhere on YouTube. So before we get started, hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. Actually just crossed 100K, so we appreciate that. Thank you guys, and let's keep it going. All right, so today, loaded show. Major development in Ohio State recruiting. We got Shea Dixon going to talk LSU. Tim Watts on to talk some Alabama. We got transfer quarterbacks. Pete Nakos joins the show. We're talking DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's get to it. We got another legendary twist in the crazy recruitment of Legend Bay. We've been on this ride for a while. You guys have watched the videos. Here's a quick reminder. Remember, he's from Texas, committed to Tennessee early in the cycle, flipped to Ohio State in mid-November. 3 weeks later, signing day rolls around. He ends up signing with Tennessee, not Ohio State. Here we sit 2 weeks after signing day, and we have a major development to talk about with Legend Bay. He has now been released from his letter of intent with Tennessee. Let's bring in Sam Spiegelman, national analyst here at Rivals. Sam, what's your opinion on the latest twist with Legend Bay?
I think we should have seen it coming, right, Josh? We reported it during the early signing period that there was a lot of question marks about this signature to Tennessee. Was it forged? Did he sign it unwillingly? All we knew is that even though he signed with the Volunteers, Legend Bay did not want to be playing for the Volunteers. He made that clear after going back and forth between Tennessee and Ohio State when he was committed to Tennessee. He ultimately flipped to Ohio State. The second flip to Ohio State, we could have seen coming from a mile away.
Yeah, so now he is at least verbally committed. I mean, was there anything there for him to sign?
I believe the intent is to sign with Ohio State, but like we said on the Inside Scoop over the weekend, there is some in his circle that believe that a significant offer could certainly move the needle. We know that after flipping to Ohio State, he picked up an offer from Texas, which was looking for a playmaker. We know they were in it for Chris Henry and legacy target Jalen Lott. We know that A&M, which finished second behind Tennessee over the summer, continued to recruit him until he signed on the dotted line. But we expect him to be signing with Ohio State. That's coming from his camp. That's coming from Legend. But there is always a slice of opportunity for other schools. We could say that fairly.
Of course. This is the recruitment that never ends. All right, Ohio State fans, exciting times. You guys hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel because we're going to cover recruitments like this all off season long. Well, maybe not exactly like this, but Sam, who does Legend Bay remind you of maybe on the current Ohio State roster or past Ohio State players?
Yeah, Legend has been playing high school quarterback for North Forney. He is one of the fastest, most explosive athletes in the state of Texas, in the country for that matter. He's drawn a lot of comparisons to Curtis Samuel, who used to be a jackknife of all trades for the Buckeyes. And that's exactly how Ohio State wants to use him. That's what put Ohio State over the top for Legend Bay. The opportunity to not only make that transition to a wide receiver, but see snaps out of the slot, see snaps out of the backfield. And he's someone who this Ohio State staff believes can be an impact player right away on special teams. We talk about that explosive speed and ability to move and navigate in space. He would be absolutely dynamic on special teams in the return game on kickoffs and punts as early as his freshman season.
Okay, so how early can we expect him on campus?
Yeah, he is a mid-year graduate, and he will be on campus in January. So, and that is part of the allure of Legend Bay. Not only does he have all these traits, not only does he have elite speed and a very diverse skill set, but he's someone that you can start getting into the weight program this spring, and will be practicing with the Buckeyes before too long.
Yeah, and in all honesty, Sam, he doesn't need to sign anything. He can just go, and when he enrolls, I mean, that's when it really becomes final, because now how we see you're able to be released. So he'll be there in what, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Absolutely. He'll graduate in a couple of days and pack his
really
bags and head up north.
So it really is coming to an end here.
It has to be. It has to be, Josh.
All right. So we know he's going to be an early impact type player at Ohio State. We'll see where that role is, running back, wide receiver, punt returner. Like, they're going to just use him anywhere they can see fit early on. But what does Tennessee do from here? Is there another high school target, or do you put the scholarship in your back pocket and take it to the transfer portal? Inside Scoop listeners, it's time to talk Roebuck. And there's only one way to describe Roebuck. It's best fit, best feel. And for those who aren't familiar with Roebuck, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Roebuck has released my favorite with their new licensed game day collection. It is now our favorite. They have polo designs, clean hoodies, quarter zips, and really it goes with all your favorite team schools. It's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roebuck's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They're both super comfortable. I have them. They have an elastic waistband, a great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice looking short, but they are comfortable for a day on the move. Roebuck has also proudly been leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. So here's what we're going to do. Use promo code Josh on Roebuck.com for a generous 20% off all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code Josh.
Yeah, I think we go with the latter. Tennessee signed a really stout class this year. You know, the addition of Legend Bay back in the class was eye-popping and grabbed everyone's attention. But let's not forget, they signed five-star wide receiver Tristan Keys. They signed one of the state's best, and Tyree King, who is an absolute explosive slot receiver, much like Legend Bay. They have a luxury of options already in Knoxville, and I think with this Legend Bay situation behind them, they're going to hit the portal to find a veteran presence, I'd say, more likely than another high school receiver.
All right. Ohio State fans, how we feeling? Legend Bay committed to Tennessee early, flipped to Ohio State in November, flipped back to Tennessee on signing day, December 3rd, and now, as of this morning, Wednesday, December 17th, Legend Bay is committed to Ohio State, expected to enroll in a couple weeks. What do you guys think of this one? A crazy recruitment. Talk to us. Comment section below. Let's talk LSU Tigers and transfer quarterback. We also have a coaching shakeup, so lots to talk about. Sam Leavitt or DJ Lagway. What do you guys think, LSU fans? Those are two big names on the market so far at the quarterback position. We're going to bring in Shea Dixon here with the Bengal Tiger. I also want to talk to him about a major coaching change at LSU. Not the Lane Kiffin coaching change, but close. One that could impact recruiting. So we're going to let's bring in Shea Dixon actually right now and start. Sam Leavitt or DJ Lagway, what is the latest buzz when it comes to transfer quarterback, Shea?
Or the field, right? Lane Kiffin will have options here. By the time we record this, look, Trinidad Chambliss, his quarterback at Ole Miss, had put in for a waiver. He said this week he didn't know where he should be getting word back on that, and then was asked about his future and kind of left it up in the air as to what would happen after Ole Miss. Does he follow Lane? Look, right before we got on here, news of Colin Hurley transferring out of LSU, expected because he had left the team midseason. LSU's down to one scholarship quarterback. That's Michael Van Buren, who had started at State as a true freshman and transferred into LSU and then got the start at the tail end of the season when Nuss was injured and kind of just didn't play anymore after Brian Kelly was fired. So you've got to move forward thinking, one, Josh, does Michael Van Buren even stay? And if he doesn't, you didn't sign a high school quarterback 2 years in a row now. Bryce Underwood flipped on you late, and then this cycle you chased one and never got one. They tried late, to get in the game again and see if they could flip anyone. Couldn't. And here we are. We're talking about guys like DJ Lagway, guys like Sam Leavitt. They are the headline names of the portal right now. Nakos has already reported LSU being tied to both of them. Well, that's no surprise, right? I mean, they have to go out there and kick the tires and vet every one of these guys. It's a lot like a coaching search where, okay, Lagway may not end up being your guy, but you do dive into the film. You do talk more to UF staffers. You do talk to those people around him. You do find out where the NIL is, what is his goal, obviously, be an immediate starter. All of these things come into play. And I think with both Lagway and Leavitt, Lagway, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, for the entire offseason, there was this debate of, is he healthy or not? Like LSU went through that with Nussmeier in fall camp, and it bleeds into the season. He doesn't play well. It feels like he regressed. And everyone says, well, was he injured? And that was kind of a big question mark. Sam Levitt's the same. I mean, Sam Levitt is shut down right now because he's injured. When does he come back? Do you roll the die in year one if you're Lane Kiffin on a quarterback, and not just specifically to Levitt or DJ Lagway, but guys who are coming off injury? Or would you try to go and get someone you know is ready for spring ball, new install into your offense if it's not Trinidad Chambliss, ready for summer workouts, ready for fall camp, all of that, and you're not on a timeline for recovery? So I do think that's what makes both Levitt and Lagway and a couple of these other guys who've been banged up really interesting because, look, Josh, no different than Garrett Nussmeier. We were talking about all three of these guys as Heisman frontrunners 6 months ago. Now we're talking about Levitt coming back to college, Lagway transferring, Nuss being out of eligibility. None of it's really related to the draft. So crazy what 6 months can change. And I think what even the next month will bring until the portal opens and closes could bring way more shakeup to this quarterback portal domino effect of who they might get.
Shay, call me crazy, but I thought highly of Michael Van Buren in his short stint at Mississippi State. He played a couple of the last games there. I thought he looked pretty good at LSU. Is there any way that you can bring in a top-name quarterback like a DJ Lagway, Sam Levitt, and still keep Van Buren on the roster?
I think you're hard-pressed to do it, and this is why. I mean, he went to State, right, and signed, and then by happenstance, I mean, the starter got injured, so he got to play and start as a true freshman. He came to LSU already under that agreement, right? Like Nuss only had a year of eligibility left. So even if he didn't start, he'd be the heir apparent. Well, Brian Kelly gets fired, Joe Sloan gets fired, your offensive coordinator. So any promises made or line of thought there with Van Buren sort of gets erased and you start from scratch. I view, in a way, Van Buren no different than I would these portal quarterbacks that are within range for LSU, NIL-wise or whatever it might be. I mean, do you prefer, if you're going to go take two guys and you risk losing Van Buren, are you okay with that? And I do think they have to go take two guys just because of how we started off this segment. I mean, right before we started it, a scholarship quarterback entered the portal as expected in Hurley, and you're down to just Van Buren. So that will be an interesting dynamic. I can't call you crazy here that he would say, maybe I'll stick around and compete, right? But if you bring a straight up headliner, let's say Trinidad Chambliss gets a waiver, leaves Ole Miss, goes to LSU. I don't see a world where Van Buren says, I'm going to stick around, right? Because now you're 2 years in a row saying I'll play this backup position role to the starter. So it'll be interesting to watch how Lane Kiffin handles this. Look, they've got a bowl game on the 27th. Van Buren's playing in it. That's before the portal opens. So we'll get one last look at him before kind of the mayhem of the actual portal window, 14-day window opening begins on January 2nd.
All right. Now let's get to this coaching change. It could have a major impact on LSU recruiting. But first, Tiger fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Go subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. All right. Frank Wilson is out. He's headed back to Ole Miss. What does it mean for LSU? Yeah,
you'll remember Josh, Frank, in the heyday of it, of recruiting, before this modern era of the portal and NIL and rev share and all of that. It was Frank and enter recruiter X here for recruiter of the year. It felt like every year from Josh, the mid 2000s through kind of the late 2018-19 years.
Legendary
Frank
run.
was on that. Frank was on that staff, 2010 to 2015. LSU did go to a national championship in that stretch. They didn't win it. They played Bama, but it was that undefeated season in 2011. But it brought a lot of memories, just straight recruiting. Josh, you and I were in the Trop, doesn't exist anymore, for 5 for 5 day. That was a Frank Wilson kind of production, right? I mean, you got Jamal Adams and Leonard Fournette. Those guys end up going top 5 in the draft, but you missed out on 3 guys. Felt like the end of the world. None of those 3 guys end up getting drafted, but it represented all that recruiting used to be, just like this anticipation of like, where are these guys going? Here's the announcement. there is no portal to fall back on. We're not worried about their NIL number as much as you are now, obviously. And it came down to really relationships and recruiting beyond a fit of a team. And that's what Frank, his kind of bread and butter was. And went off, became a head coach at UTSA. His very first DC, Josh, at UTSA was Pete Golden. And after a couple years, Golden got hired by Saban and began that path to becoming Ole Miss's head coach. And as you said before, Frank came to LSU. I guess it was 05 to 07. So a few years before that LSU stop, he was at Ole Miss, and they wrote the book Meat Market. Bruce Feldman did, about that staff, which was kind of a who's who of guys that Frank was on. Ed Orgeron was the head coach. So Frank returning to Oxford. And I say all that, and look, he came back for the Kelly era. So after he was head coach at UTSA, head coach at McNeese here in Louisiana, Brian Kelly gets hired. He comes back. He takes over as sort of your associate head coach. After about a year, Polian moved on. He took over the recruiting side of things too. And I'm in this balance of, Josh, we've done this for longer than we'd like to admit, where Frank's always been viewed as one of the best recruiters in college football.
Right.
But college football recruiting has changed so much. And with that, is this as big of a hit as what it used to have been? Well, the answer would be no. But at the same time, when you bring a whole new staff in on offense, that question loomed of, would you keep Frank? Because beyond Corey Raymond, he is the one guy who's been on staff the longest over this modern era of LSU football, 2 different stints. And it became evident pretty early on that they were going to part ways. And it appears LSU may just do an Ole Miss running back coach swap here with Kevin Smith. We'll see once Ole Miss season comes to an end. But it's a hit. And look, I'll say this, Josh. We talk recruiting. I think more than anything, without being more long-winded than I normally even am, that Frank is the type that not only is a great recruiter, but the actual team, the inside the building, the things that are going on, he's one that's got a pulse on it and kind of keeps things under control, whether it's a guy getting into trouble or whether it's a guy just having trouble in life or rough times or whatever. Frank's a person beyond a position coach that usually has knowledge of it and is sort of helping out. So that's one thing that in this new era, the Kiffin era at LSU, that he'll have to balance out. But the fan reaction down here, I think, Josh, is this is a team that just went 7-5. This is a team that hasn't won 10 games since that 2019 national championship season. If Lane Kiffin can win double-digit games every year at Ole Miss, have them at 11-1 right now, then even tough calls like this one, you have to just sit back and say, well, you wanted him as head coach. Here, this is the ride you're on, and you're buckled in for it. So to doubt him or say, hey, look, that's a bad move, I think we have to wait and see. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but right now I don't think anybody is panicking, Josh, just knowing that this is the price of doing business with a new head coach.
Yeah, and, I think LSU fans that have followed recruiting, they know the importance Frank Wilson has had to this program, but they've also been able to see how recruiting's changed, and LSU will move on, Frank Wilson will move on, and everything's okay. Now, do need to make a correction here. To all the Tropicana Field lovers, it still exists. They put a new roof on it. So now the game itself that we used to go to, the Under Armour game is no longer played at Tropicana Field and hasn't probably for 5 or 6 years. But there's a lot of Trop lovers in the chat here, so I just wanted to
Are the Rays playing in the Trop?
In 2026, they will return to the Trop.
Okay, that's where I was misguided there. They've not been at the Trop.
Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. We just, had to.
Well,
all right. So when
the Trop died with 5 for 5, I believe, and so they had to redo it from there.
Yeah, we had that 5 for 5. That was classic. LSU fans, tell us if you guys remember that, and were you a member of Shay's message board back in the 5 for 5 days? You mentioned Kevin Smith as a potential replacement. He seems like he's been Lane Kiffin's guy, originally from Florida, played at UCF, played running back at UCF, known as a really good recruiter. So, that would make sense. Is he the top candidate for the job? Let's talk Whataburger, because when first unwrapping your Whataburger, you may find yourself awestruck by what's in front of you. Hot, fresh, made ready to order on a 5-inch toasted bun with 100% never frozen American beef patty grilled to perfection. melty cheese, crisp hand-chopped veggies, and mustard. It may look more like art than food. Some even may consider it a masterpiece. They aren't wrong. Whataburger, just like you like it.
Yes, and largely I think it's pretty easy to piece together the timeline of things here. Frank Wilson had already said that he didn't know about his future. He and Lane would talk about it after the bowl. Lane's already brought like most of the Ole Miss staff down to LSU. He didn't bring the O-line coach. He hires Kentucky's O-line coach. You've got one spot available. It's the running backs coach. You aren't telling Frank that he's the guy, despite being interim head coach and on staff. And simultaneously in Oxford, Pete Golding's talking about his running backs coach, Kevin Smith, as you mentioned, and saying, we'll figure that out when the playoffs end. Look, he's committed to the team. He's here. Remember, even the staffers at LSU, Charlie Weiss Jr., the OC, others went back, Joe Cox, all those guys to help coach Ole Miss. So Pete Golding's got those guys there. He said they're focused. But for him to be non-committal on Kevin Smith, I think sort of pointed to the reality that, hey, look, he's probably on his way out. Yeah. Then when news breaks that you're hiring Frank Wilson to your staff, who has been, when not a head coach, a running backs coach, this appears to be Kevin Smith coming in and Frank Wilson going out. But as you noted, Miami Southridge kid, and he was on that FAU staff back in 2017, probably when Lane first got there, I would say. So what, that would be through to now. I think he had like a year at Miami, maybe, Josh, but then back to Ole Miss. So he's pretty much, as you noted, been Kiffin's right-hand man for nearly a decade. I know they talk about their families being close, all that. It would be, at this point, it would be a shock if Kevin Smith wasn't the running backs coach. I think LSU fans are beyond that. I think they're wondering is Kevin Smith bringing any of his running backs with him, notably Kewan Lacey.
All right, LSU fans, talk with us. Yeah, that would be fun too. LSU fans, there's so many possibilities right now. It feels fun, but let's talk quarterback position. Who do you want out of the portal? Is it DJ Lagway? Is it Sam Levitt? Is it Dylan Raiola? Is it somebody else? Let me know. Comment section below. We are talking Alabama recruiting. They finished with the number 4 ranked class in America in 2026. And today we are going to go behind the scenes with Tim Watts, Bama Online. Let's bring in Tim, and we will start with talking about Alabama's biggest wins in the 2026 cycle.
I tell you one I really like is Nolan Wilson from Mississippi. They did a really good job because this guy blew up going into his senior year, had a great senior year, went deep into the playoffs, had a ton of offers, but he said it over and over and over. My best relationship with is Freddie Roach. They were my first offer. And I think that was proven heavily because Miami was strong with the NIL offer. They made multiple offers. They were trying to do it a little bit quietly, but they were very, very aggressive in the NIL, or rev share, I guess it is now, trying to get Nolan. He's a really good player. And I think Freddie Roach, Alabama, Courtney Morgan did a good job working the numbers there that you have to balance now. But Freddie Roach's relationship was huge. Another guy I really find interesting is Jet Tamala, because you got a guy an hour from Nebraska. They sort of had their quarterback situation locked up when they had the oldest Raiola brother was there starting. They had the younger brother committed, and then we saw those dominoes unfall. They stood back up. So this is a guy that probably would have been a priority for them. Shattered every state record during his senior season. I mean, it was absurd. You would have thought they were playing middle school teams. They were playing the best, highest-rated guys in the state of Nebraska, but he put up huge numbers. Reminds me of Drake May, the first time I saw Drake May when Alabama offered him. Big guy, bushy hair, strong, plays basketball, big arm, actually a little bit bigger than Drake at the same stage. So I think that's two kids they did great jobs on.
Yeah, and one of the maybe underrated storylines was their ability to play defense on guys like Xavier Crowell, Xavier Griffin, Jaira Edwards, Jordan Edmonds. They did a great, Sadarian Morgan, another one. They did a great job of getting these guys on campus consistently, enough to where they really didn't even have time to take visits to other programs.
Look, if you're coming to the Eastern Illinois game, you are locked in. That's kind of the sign. When Xavier Crowell or somebody shows up for that, you're like, oh, he's not going. He's not. Half the coaches don't want to be at that game. You know, if he shows up for that one, he's all in. But I agree. They had a lot of their drama in June. They laid the groundwork. Didn't see a lot. They saw J.J. Finch flip at the end to Tennessee. They kind of anticipated that. It got to an NIL battle. One thing I think Courtney Morgan does a great job of, is punting when it gets to the point of their offer, our offer, their offer. I think Bama does a good job. Ty Haywood, similar situation last year. Just not a battle they want to be in. They want kids at Alabama. They know they're going to have to be part of the rev share, and but they also want them there because they want to be at Alabama.
Yeah, you mentioned the J.J. Finch recruitment, but I also want to know what other big recruitments. Alabama takes these big swings. What other big recruitments maybe didn't go the right way for the Tide? Inside Scoop listeners, let's talk game time, because the NFL season is almost over, and who doesn't love to see their favorite NFL team live and in person, especially when you can go with a bunch of your buddies, but tickets aren't always going to be easy to find, and getting deals on those last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there the moment your team runs out on the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences, and it only takes a few simple clicks. The app is easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. You can even get into an NFL game for as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you are getting the lowest price if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. All right, here's what we're going to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code INSIDESCOOP. That's promo code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's Inside Scoop for $20 off Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
I think Tank Jones is the biggest in-state, top 50 type talent. Christian Robinson, I mean, I made a joke, but if he was in the availability period to see him, it didn't matter what Tank Jones was doing. He was watching him play football, basketball, tetherball, throwing dice. Anything he did, he was there to watch him. He did a great job recruiting him. Obviously, Oregon did what they needed to do to get that done. But he's a guy you kind of figured, in a few weeks before he announced, he said that Bama was his leader. And then I think everything fell after that. Titan Davis is another one. I think their defensive line class was what they wanted. They wanted 5. They got 5. They flipped Corey Howard from Georgia. The thing with Titan Davis is at one point, me and Andrew Bone were writing commitment stories. We thought he was going to cancel that visit to Michigan. We knew Michigan was the biggest opponent for Titan. We knew that they wanted – now he wanted to change his official visit date, and they didn't want him to change. And that's when we sort of thought, maybe something might happen. He talked about canceling that visit, but obviously Michigan did a good job, made him a priority, and ended up landing him.
Yeah. All right. Alabama. That was some great insider intel right there, Tim. Appreciate that. But Bama fans, do me a favor right now. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. We love talking Alabama recruiting, and we are going to do it all off season long. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, Tim, when we look back at this class in 5 years, who do you think Alabama fans will be talking about in terms of breakout stars from this class?
I think when you look at the industry rankings, the composite, you see what you'd expect. Xavier Crowell's up there. Xavier Griffin, I think, has got a massive upside. You watch this guy, he's fast to the ball, he's aggressive, reminds me so much of Jihad Campbell, except he's faster and probably a better athlete than Jihad was. Remember, Jihad was committed to Clemson. Xavier was committed to USC. Also, it's one of the few guys in the nation USC missed on. They hit at a high rate. They had a tremendous class of landing their top targets. So I think Xavier's one to watch. Jordan Edmonds and Jira Edwards, 2 guys in the secondary. Mo Lindquist does a fantastic job there. We have seen this going back to Xavier Brown, freshman All-American starter as a freshman. We saw that with Dijon Lee, freshman All-American. He knows what he wants. He finds those guys. He likes them long, lanky. He likes them with some speed, especially closing speed. So I think he does a good job. Jira Edwards is one of the best safety prospects I've seen. You watch him. He lines up in the slot for St. Francis. Look, St. Francis Academy is so loaded, it's hard to stand out. And Jira was named the best player by Max Preps in Maryland, and that's ahead of 2 other 5-star guys in the same state. So Jira's going to be a big-time prospect when all's said and done. And Sedarian, well, there's a lot on this. It's a very top-heavy list. Sedarian Morgan, Nolan Wilson, those are all guys that I think are going to have impacts.
All right, Alabama fans, let's hear it from you guys. Who is your favorite player in this class? Tim named a bunch of it. Is it one of the guys Tim named, or is it somebody else? Let us know. Comment section below. The transfer portal opens on January 2nd. Let's talk quarterbacks DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola, two monster names already in the portal. We got On3 portal expert Pete Nakos with it, so we're going to break it all down. But first, guys, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. All right, let's start with DJ Lagway, Pete. I was shocked to see him go into the portal. I know, new coaching staff and everything, but his time in Gainesville is over. What's the latest buzz on DJ Lagway?
Yeah, DJ Lagway announces on Monday he's going in the portal, and immediately you start to think about some schools that were factors in his recruitment. You know, Texas A&M was really in it until the end, but things are settled there with Marcel Reed. So where does he go? So far to this point, we're hearing Baylor is an option. He's been in communication with Louisville. LSU and Miami are going to be two of the biggest quarterback players in this market. And obviously, Lagway could make sense there. Past that, some people brought up Clemson as an option. I'm not quite sure that that's going to happen. DJ Lagway and his camp, they're really just surveying the market at the moment.
Right.
And we'll see how things progress. Now, the one other thing here too, Josh, is I think things maybe moved a little more quickly than some in Lagway's camp thought it would when it came time to, announcing a decision and making a move. So I think that we could see this one take a little bit more time to play out than maybe the general public would think.
You mean like we could see DJ Lagway take some visits, or what do you mean in terms of the timeline?
Yeah, so we're currently in a dead period, and the portal technically doesn't open until January 2nd. So yeah, I mean, we could see him take some visits in the month of January. I don't think that would surprise me. They're really, really big on how do we get DJ Lagway back on the track he was on after that breakout freshman season.
Yeah,
and how do we make sure that he can still go be an NFL quarterback?
Well, just by the teams that you mentioned, it feels like there's still a major market for DJ Lagway. So, there's a lot of people that believe in him. So we'll see what happens there, and we'll continue to cover that when the portal opens. Let's move on to Dylan Raiola. A little bit different. Wasn't necessarily surprised. We saw his brother, Dayton Raiola, quarterback in the 2026 class, decommit 4 days before signing day. His uncle, offensive line coach, was fired from his position at Nebraska, so it seemed like only a matter of time until Raiola himself hits the portal. He has announced that he will. What are we hearing when it comes to his recruitment?
Yeah, this was a quarterback everyone kind of in the country had its eye on. We all knew it was kind of bubbling up underneath the surface, and then it pops on Monday that he's going to go in the portal. I got to start here with Dylan Raiola. I know everyone tries to, make the Patrick Mahomes comparisons and stuff. I don't expect Texas Tech to be a factor here in this one. You look past that. I know that there's been some communication with Louisville and the idea of Jeff Brom and how he could help Dylan Raiola. I know Oregon has also been mentioned. I think Oregon is really just trying its best to hold on to Dante Moore at the moment.
Right.
And if he decides to go to the NFL draft, then they'll start to look around. I'm not sure where Raiola actually is on that pecking order, though, for Oregon.
So what do you think is important for Raiola? Because when you mention Jeff Brom, it really sounds like he wants to go somewhere where he's going to be guaranteed to be developed. Are you getting the sense that it could be the most important factor when he makes a decision?
Yeah, I think development is really critical for both DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola. Neither really had the sophomore seasons I think that they thought they were going to have on paper. And making sure they get back on track and can play immediately next year, but also, take some steps forward in their playing and maturation as quarterbacks. That's really going to be key.
Okay, so Dylan Raiola might not be walking in the Patrick Mahomes footsteps to Texas Tech, but does that mean Texas Tech is not looking for a transfer or just somebody different?
No, they have their eyes set on a transfer quarterback. That Cincinnati quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, probably one of the more accomplished quarterbacks available in the portal, someone that an Indiana would love to get. I know Tennessee has kicked the tires on, but Texas Tech has made it clear that they want Brendan Sorsby, and when Texas Tech makes clear that they want a player, that's the direction it typically goes.
Yeah. All right. Let's circle back to UF for a moment because they're losing DJ Lagway. I saw you wrote an article. Are they in the market for a transfer quarterback now?
Yeah, new Florida head coach John Summerall trying to get ready for the college football playoff here, but They also know that they need to stock that quarterback room with talent. Lagway leaves. Georgia Tech quarterback Aaron Philo is going to enter the portal. That's a big one to keep an eye on since Summerall hired Georgia Tech offense coordinator Buster Faulkner. There's some other names circulating out there, but I'll just say right now, Aaron Philo is definitely a name of note for Florida fans.
All right. I know you're a busy man. We want to get you out of here. Got one more big name to talk about. That's Sam Leavitt leaving Arizona State. Who are you hearing has interest in Leavitt?
There's really 4 schools that you have to talk about when you talk about Sam Leavitt. Oregon, we have to see what happens there with Dante Moore, but Sam Leavitt at Oregon can make a lot of sense. Indiana, they want to bring in another accomplished quarterback who could help them win a national title and a Big Ten title like Fernando Mendoza did. That makes sense. Miami is going to be in the quarterback market again. There's obviously some clear reasons why Sam Leavitt in Miami can make sense. And then the other one, LSU. Lane Kiffin is now in Baton Rouge. His quarterback right now, Trinidad Chambliss, is at Ole Miss. How's that all shake out? We will see. But behind the scenes, a lot of people are definitely tying Sam Leavitt and LSU together as a possibility.
All right. So we're hearing all this buzz. The actual portal opens on January 2nd. Is this kind of becoming like NFL free agency when the date of the free agency starts? A lot of deals are just finalized because it seems like there's some maneuvering going on behind the scenes, even though the portal's not open yet.
Listen, there's a tampering period in NFL free agency. It feels like we're in a tampering period right now in college football. The transfer portal does not open until January 2nd.
Right.
What's that mean? We're not going to see any commitments before January 2nd. Okay. That doesn't mean there's not going to be some handshake deals in the background. So what's that all kind of mean? It means that for the next, I think it's like 14 days or something like that now, there's just going to be a lot of whispers and a lot of rumors, and us here at On 3 are going to try to sit through all of it.
Yep, and we are going to be covering it all right here on the Rivals Recruits channel. That is why you guys are subscribed. So talk to me. How do you guys feel? Where do you think the best fit is for DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola? Let me know in the comment section below.